Welcome to Sleep with History, where quiet stories help you slow down and drift gently into sleep. So get comfortable, take a slow breath, and let tonight's story begin. Before we begin, take a slow breath. Make yourself comfortable and let the worries of today fade away. Tonight, we travel back to a quiet medieval fishing village. It is still dark outside. The village is sleeping and the sea moves gently beyond the shore. Inside a small wooden cottage, a fisherman slowly wakes. Soon, he will take his old wooden boat onto the quiet morning water. Tonight, you will follow his simple life from the first light of dawn through a peaceful day on the water and finally into the quiet night. So relax, listen to the gentle waves, and let us step quietly into the life of a medieval fisherman. The village is still sleeping. Beyond the small wooden houses, the sea moves quietly beneath the darkness. Inside a little cottage, the fisherman slowly opens his eyes. For a moment, he simply listens to the waves. The morning has not arrived yet. He gets out of bed, pulls on his warm woolen shirt and walks quietly toward the door. Near the wall, his fishing net is already prepared. Beside it sits a wooden basket, and near the doorway, his old boots wait for another day. He opens the door. Cool sea air enters the cottage. Outside, the village is completely quiet. No carts are moving. No market stalls are open. Only a few distant birds can be heard near the shore. The fisherman walks slowly toward his small wooden boat. It rests on the wet sand, weathered by years of salt water and changing seasons. He checks the wooden sides carefully, then places the net and basket inside. A moment later, he pushes the boat into the water. Cold waves move around his boots. Then he climbs inside and takes the wooden oars. Slowly, the boat begins moving away from shore. Behind him, the village becomes smaller. A few warm lights still shine through the darkness. The fisherman keeps rowing, listening to nothing but the gentle sound of water. Above the horizon, the darkness is beginning to fade. A soft blue light appears across the distant sky. The fisherman stops rowing and lets the boat drift quietly. This is his favorite moment. Before the village becomes busy, before the roads fill with people, there is only the sea, the boat, and the peaceful morning. He reaches for his fishing net. His hands move slowly, but every movement is familiar. He has done this for many years. The net slips gently into the water and disappears beneath the surface. Now he waits. The boat moves softly with the waves. A cool breeze passes across his face, and the first golden light begins appearing beyond the horizon. The fisherman watches quietly. Then he feels a gentle pull. The net has caught something. He begins pulling it back, slowly, carefully. A few small fish appear inside the wet net. He places them into the wooden basket, then gathers the net once again. The sun is rising now. The dark sea becomes silver, and the quiet village finally begins to wake. But the fisherman is already far from shore, and his long day on the water has only just begun. The sun is slowly rising now, and the sea has become brighter with every passing moment. The fisherman sits quietly in his boat, watching the gentle movement of the water. A few seabirds circle above him, their calls carrying softly across the open sea. He reaches for the fishing net again and prepares it for another cast. There is no hurry. The sea decides the pace of his morning, and he has learned to wait patiently. He lowers the net into the water, then rests his hands beside him. For a while, nothing happens. The boat rises and falls gently with the small waves. The fisherman looks toward the shore. From here, the medieval village looks very small. A few people are beginning to walk along the narrow coastal path. Small boats can be seen near the beach, and thin smoke rises slowly from the first morning fires. But out here, everything remains peaceful. The fisherman feels another small pull from beneath the water. He carefully lifts the net, A few more fish are caught inside. He places them into his basket, then spreads the net across the boat to dry in the morning sunlight. The smell of salt and wet rope fills the quiet air. He takes a small piece of bread from his cloth bag and eats slowly while watching the sea. It is a simple breakfast, but after an early morning on the water, even a little food feels comforting. The sunlight grows warmer. The cold morning air begins to disappear, and the fisherman prepares for another short journey across the water. He lifts the oars and rows toward a quieter part of the shore. The boat moves gently forward, leaving a narrow trail across the silver blue water. There is nothing dramatic about the journey, just the soft rhythm of rowing, the quiet sound of waves, and the distant cries of seabirds. For a moment, the fisherman stops again. He looks toward the horizon and simply watches the morning unfold. This is his world. A small boat, a simple net, the open sea, and a life guided by the rhythm of water. Soon he will return to the village with the morning's catch. But for now, there is nowhere else he needs to be. He simply lets the boat drift and listens to the sea. By late morning, the fisherman decides it is time to return toward the shore. The sun is higher now, and the cool morning air has become warmer. He gathers the fishing net, checks the wooden basket, then takes the oars once again. The boat slowly turns toward the village. Behind him, the open sea stretches quietly toward the distant horizon. Ahead, the small fishing village is becoming clearer. He can see the wooden houses, the narrow paths, and the little boats resting along the shore. As he comes closer, the sounds of village life begin to reach him. People are talking near the beach. A wooden cart moves slowly along the sandy road. Children can be heard somewhere behind the houses. The quiet morning is over now. The village is awake. The fisherman guides his boat toward the familiar part of the shore, then steps carefully onto the wet sand. He lifts the basket of fish and carries it toward the small market. A few other fishermen are already there. Their boats have returned too, and fresh fish are being arranged on simple wooden tables. There is no great market here, only a few stalls, wooden baskets, fresh fish, and the quiet voices of people beginning their day's work. The fisherman places his catch beside the others. A woman from the village stops to look at the fish. They exchange a few quiet words. Then she chooses several for her family's evening meal. The fisherman watches her leave and begins packing away his net. His work for the morning is finished. For a little while, he simply stands beside the water. The sunlight is warm now, and the sea looks completely different from the darkness of early morning. He can still hear the waves, but now they are mixed with the sounds of the village. Carts, footsteps, quiet conversations, and the distant call of seabirds. He picks up his empty basket and begins walking home. The narrow path leads away from the busy shoreline towards his small wooden cottage. Soon he will have a simple meal, rest for a while, and prepare for the quiet evening ahead. The hardest part of the day is over, and for the first time since before sunrise, the fisherman has nowhere he needs to be. By late afternoon, the village has become quieter again. The fishermen have finished their work, and the morning's catch has already begun its journey towards different homes. Inside his small cottage, the fisherman washes his hands and prepares a simple meal. A small fire burns inside the stone fireplace. Its warm light moves softly across the wooden walls. He sits beside the fire, eating slowly after a long day on the cold morning water. Outside, the sunlight is beginning to fade. The sea has turned a deeper blue, and a gentle evening breeze moves through the village. After his meal, the fisherman steps outside. He walks slowly toward the shore, not to work this time, but simply to watch the evening. His little boat rests quietly above the wet sand. The fishing net is spread nearby, drying in the cool air. He checks it once, then leaves it there for tomorrow morning. There is no reason to hurry now. The day's work is finished. Along the village path, a few families are returning home. Doors begin to close. Small candles appear behind wooden windows. The sounds of conversation slowly become quieter. The fisherman stands beside the water, watching the last sunlight disappear beyond the horizon. For a moment, everything seems completely still. The sea, the village, the old wooden boats, all becoming darker as evening settles across the shore. He takes a slow breath, then turns toward home. The path feels peaceful now, and the cool night air has begun to replace the warmth of day. Behind him, the sea continues moving quietly. Tomorrow morning, he will return to the water again. But tonight, there is nothing left to do. Only rest, a warm fire, and the gentle sound of the sea outside. The evening has finally become night, and the small fishing village is almost completely quiet. The last warm lights still glow behind a few wooden windows. Inside his cottage, the fisherman sits beside the small fireplace. The fire burns gently, casting soft, golden light across the old wooden walls. His fishing net is folded nearby, ready for another morning. But tonight, there is nothing more to prepare. The day's work is finished. He slowly removes his worn boots and places them beside the doorway. Outside, the sea continues moving beneath the dark sky. Its gentle waves reach the shore, then quietly disappear back into the darkness. The fisherman listens for a moment. There is something familiar about that sound. He has heard it every night for most of his life. The sea has always been there, through storms, through quiet mornings, and long days beneath the sun. Tonight, it feels especially peaceful. The fisherman adds another small piece of wood to the fire. The flames rise gently, then settle again. Warmth slowly fills the little room. He prepares a simple drink and sits quietly near the fireplace. There is no need for conversation, no work waiting for him, no boat to prepare, no net to repair. Tomorrow can wait. For now, he simply enjoys the warmth of the small fire. Outside the window, the village is sleeping. The narrow paths are empty. The fishing boats rest quietly beside the dark shore. Above them, the night sky is filled with stars. The fisherman looks toward the sea through the small window. The moonlight touches the water, creating a soft silver path across the waves. He remembers the morning, the darkness before sunrise, the quiet journey across the water, and the first light appearing beyond the horizon. It was another ordinary day, but for him, these ordinary days are his life. A small boat, a simple cottage, the sea, and the changing seasons. He finishes his drink, then slowly stands. The fire has become smaller now, its warm glow moving softly across the room. He checks the door once, making sure everything is safe before going to bed. Then he lowers the candle, and the cottage becomes darker. Only the fireplace remains glowing. He lies down slowly, pulling the warm blanket around his shoulders. Outside, the sea continues its gentle rhythm, wave after wave, quietly reaching the shore. The fisherman closes his eyes. His breathing becomes slower. The sounds of the village seem farther away. Soon, even the soft crackling of the fire begins to fade. There is nothing left to do tonight. The boat is waiting. The net is ready, and tomorrow will come when the sun rises again. But for now, the fisherman can rest. You can rest too. Let the quiet sound of the sea stay in the background of your thoughts. Imagine the small wooden boat resting peacefully on the shore, moving gently with each wave. Imagine the dark village, the warm cottage windows, and the soft glow of the last remaining fire. The night is calm. The sea is calm. And the entire village is slowly drifting into sleep. The fisherman sleeps quietly inside his little cottage, while beyond the window, the moon continues shining over the silent water. The waves come and go, slowly, steadily, without hurry. And as the night grows deeper, the village becomes completely still. Only the sea remains awake. Its gentle rhythm continues along the empty shore, carrying the quietness of the night across the sleeping village. The fisherman has finished another day, another simple day beside the sea, and another peaceful night has begun. So let the village grow quieter, let the waves become softer, and allow yourself to drift away with the peaceful rhythm of the water. There is nothing more to do, nothing more to worry about, only the quiet sea, the sleeping village, and the gentle darkness of the night.